Communications provides equal opportunities for all legally qualified political candidates in accordance with FCC regulations. If you are a candidate for public office and would like to request equal time regarding content that has aired, please contact our station directly. We will be happy to work with you to schedule appropriate airtime. For more information, please reach out to the station office. 860-456-1111.
It's Thursday afternoon. It must be Windham Weekly, and I'm your host, the voice of Windham, Ken Folan. I'm here today with my co-host, who made it in this week, thankfully, Mark Doyle.
The heart of Windham.
The heart of Windham, the heartless man who sits on the Board of Education, and I mean he sits on the Board of Education.
That's right.
But let me tell you, he's the guy I'm supporting. But anyway, in addition to Mark Doyle, we have a very special guest, as we promised last week, the superintendent of schools in Windham, Miss Iris Gomero, and she is here to represent the students, the staff, and talk openly and honestly to you, the citizens of Windham, and on any topic. We've got a couple things we want to talk about, but this is your show at 456-1400. Call in. Great transparency, great opportunity for Dr. Gomero to talk to you and for you to talk to her and answer the questions you might have, because she's taking care of our most precious citizens in the community, the future. Right, Dr. Gomero?
That is correct. Thank you so much for the invitation, and I'm really looking forward to engaging in a conversation with all of you.
That's excellent. That's what we're here for, is the conversation. Now, we've just come off the budget referendum, which is passed, so that's going to help us continue with our planning for next year. There's still a small hole there in the budget, but we're working on that, right?
That is correct.
You had a lot of impact from, granted the budget passed, and I'm glad this is all behind us, and I'm glad the majority of the community supported it in the end. But you and the staff really faced some, in all my time, probably the deepest amount of cuts I've ever seen to get there. And, granted, with the MBR, it's not going to go lower, but like as Mark has alluded to, almost a couple $100,000 hole to fill is not very easy in our budget when I know things are tight there. I know that firsthand. How did you get through all that? There was a lot of cutting and planning. I know more to come. Any program staffing interruptions or?
Well, there was a lot of work that was done prior to me arriving at Windham Public Schools. The interim team did an excellent job at looking at all of the resources that we currently have, the staffing, and they placed a hold and a freeze on our budget back in, I believe it was in April or early May. And then they started going through all of our expenses, our expenditures, and had to eliminate certain positions. Fortunately, it didn't result in anyone actually not having to be let go. These were positions that had not been filled previously, and they were frozen. We also had to make some cuts to department budgets, and then we started thinking about next year and what are the grants that we're getting, and we were able to set aside about 2% of the budget to carry over to the 25-26 school year.
It's important, because people always say, well, you just said they didn't cut anybody. Yes, but they didn't fill all the positions.
That is correct.
So there are services that have been impacted to our students. Maybe a few classes have a higher pupil count. I know supplies are a nil. So I just want everyone in the community to understand that this really had an impact on the district.
It definitely had an impact. There's still, we are still about $161,000 short to get to that 0% budget increase. And there's still things that may get impacted, such as, middle school sports and after-school activities, clubs, and, we do need transportation for those as well. We want to make sure that all of the decisions that we're making, we are making sure that we're thinking about the student, right, and what they need to be successful. But it definitely has a big impact, not only on the services that we provide, but also staff morale. When we're constantly talking about the budget, when we're constantly talking about whether or not we're going to need to cut funds or positions, that makes individuals worried, and they may have them think of somewhere else to go. So we definitely don't want that to continue to be the conversation. We will be, of course, fiscally responsible and ensure that we're utilizing all of our resources the way that we're supposed to, but it is not sustainable for us to continue to just eliminate positions and funds and cut and cut and cut, because there's only so much that we can
Right.
cut.
I just want to explain. So I'll explain one thing. And I know Mark wants to jump in. Years ago, Windham had, a long-term teachers and experience in the test scores were higher and so on. And then we got into this, and I hope this isn't the beginning. I hope this is the end of it again. We had a phase over my tenure of these deep cuts and 0% and sometimes pay freezes and this and that, and Windham became a training ground, or the B team for teachers to get hired, get a year or two experience in a tough district, and then moved on. We don't need to go back there, and that's what I'm trying, for your sake and for our children's sake, not to go back to. We want to maintain and build that seniority of quality staff, because that's when you get the best exchange of knowledge to the students, I think.
That is not our current reality. We actually, during our convocation, celebrated staff members who have been with us for 10 years, 15, 20, 30, even for 40 years in the district. So we wanted to continue that. And in order for us to do that, we need to make sure that we're competitive, that we can continue to honor the salaries of our staff, that we're competitive with other districts, and that this conversation about the budget does not continue to be one about deficit.
Well, that was exactly my point, Dr. Gomero, was we need to end it now, right? You got some numbers that you're going to work on. I'm not going to dwell on this budget anymore unless someone from the community wants to call. I'm happy it's done. I know you hit the ground running. I've heard nothing but positive things about your efforts to engage the community and the 4th of July and so on and so forth. You should have invited the voice of Windham. You would have got a bigger applause. But no, I'm really happy that, everything I hear, that the school year started off great because we wanted to have you on earlier. And it went well. No major bus catastrophes and all that other good stuff that normally happens. It was very, very positive, and I'm glad that for your first year that's how it started for you.
No, we're off to a strong start. We have 3 areas of focus that everyone is working very hard on achieving, and that is ensuring that all of our students are in school every day. Being in school matters, and every day matters. So we're tracking student attendance, ensuring that students are not chronically absent, making connections with families so that they understand that even 1 or 2 days a month of you being absent costs you down the line to be chronically absent, and that's what we're trying to avoid.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I had brought this up to Mark last week. There was a little celebration at Sweeney, and the name of the teacher it's Mr. and it began with a P. Parsadillo. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right or not. Was the first school at Sweeney to have 0 absences, the first classroom. And I'm going to ask you, can you arrange for him and maybe the new administrator who's there and a few of his students to come on this show? We'd like to. This is what we want to do. We just honor these kids and the staff who are obviously they're engaged, in elementary, and then hopefully we can see more things to celebrate for these. And these are little milestones, but they're important milestones.
They're very important.
Yeah.
And with not only attendance, another area of focus for us is having high expectations of students, of course, ensuring that they're receiving grade level, standards-driven instruction every single day, and so that we're preparing them not only for the time that they're here with us in Windham Public Schools, but beyond. And they can choose wherever it is that they want to do, whether they want to go on to college, college, whether they want to join the workforce, whatever it is that they want to do, that we have given them the tools and the skills and the habits for them to be successful. And the third one is ensuring that our climate and our culture in all of our buildings is a positive one, that students feel connected, that they feel safe, that they feel loved, and they love coming to school every day. And so those are definitely our three areas that we're focusing on for the entire year.
So one of the major moves this year that helped in a lot of different ways, and budget being one of them, because we were able to not replace some staff members when we closed Windham Center School. And that lends us into the discussion about, as you were talking about the school climate and whatnot. Can you give us some idea of how the transition went? I heard no major issues from children or parents moving from Windham Centers now into their new homes, which primarily is Sweeney and North Windham.
And that is correct. Yeah. And we, parents, of course, worry about their children, especially when they are in elementary school and they're having these big transitions going into middle school and high school specifically. And so we anticipated that parents were going to be a little bit nervous about the change of having our fifth graders at Windham Middle School, but we have gotten nothing but positive feedback. Of course, there's always, at the beginning of a school year, there's always things that we need to tighten, but it has been a great experience, and the teachers feel welcome. They feel part of the school community at Windham Middle School, and so do the students. And so they're thriving, they're coming to school, they're engaged. We're hearing great things about the fifth grade transition to Windham Middle School.
That's right. So the fifth grade is moving into, I was also thinking that just the general classes, but that was another major transition, is moving the fifth grade back into the middle school, was where we designed them to be. That's how that school was designed.
Oh, yes. So you were alluding to the Windham Center. Yes, they have had a great transition as well, including the staff members, which, they were also, it is sad, right, when you have been in a school community that you call your home and you have the staff members, the students, and now you have to go into another school. It was something that it was a bit, challenging, I would say, because, change is difficult, but they have shared that they feel great at the new schools where they're at, and the principals and the staff of the receiving schools are also happy that they're there, and they've been able to make a very smooth transition as well.
And we also, not just did we close the school and move some students, we also took care of the frog. I know it was an issue that was of great importance to many of our listeners and many of our residents, but for those of you who may not remember, 20 years ago, we had a competition in town where they painted the frogs, and various businesses, like here in WILI, have those frogs placed. Windham Center was one of the locations where it was originally pledged to the museum. Then they decided they didn't want it there for various reasons, and it was donated to the schools, and we put it on Windham Center, where it resided for close to 20 years. And oddly enough, that was a hot button issue once we thought we'd move the frog to Sweeney. But we have, through the board, we've worked out even the transition of the frog, so everything has moved smoothly.
That is correct.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your three pillars, if you will. Mm-hmm. Right? And so I think it was just last week, Mark. Maybe Mark wasn't here last week, but I somewhat have a memory of it.
Right.
We, one of the things I spoke about was parental engagement to improve test scores and involvement. Because with a lot of folks in town, because I think we started I know we have family liaisons now, but we had a welcoming center at the old Kramer building when we were there. So people wouldn't feel scared of this governmental, quote, building, and understand that they were there to help. And then, again, for student improvement, like Mark would say, you always get that push from the parents during that K through 4, K through 5, and then it dwindles. Any ideas on your end as a superintendent now, how can we boost that with the middle school and the high school parents? Because I can't separate the level of how important it is in each grade level. There's for the little kids, I get it, and I get it as a young parent. Trust me, because I relied heavily on teachers when my sons were young. And when's junior here going to read? What and then of course I just happened to be one of those guys. I got involved and I did what I did and stuck with the Board of Ed. But, you know, you can just tell from the amount of attendance that parents getting involved because the kids are bigger. They don't want their mom or dad to go or whatever. It's not as important to go. But it's just, if not more important, they're in those middle school ages. And in the high school, when they're really getting ready to, you know, spread their wings a little bit, you know, that's when, to me, I had to get more heavily involved again then. So what is, any plans or any programs you think you want to put in place to contact families and get them into the buildings and be a part of that school community? And, you know, not that they're not supporting their children now, but it sure is great to see the parking lots. Like I used to drive by Windham Center School, and you knew there was a function going on. That place was packed. You could have open house at the school, and you just don't, you know, numbers may look good or whatever, up or down. But, you know, in the middle school, I'd go there, and it's just like it was less and less and less. What do we do?
Well, you should visit because I have attended all of the open houses.
And we
have a great turnout, especially at the middle school.
Great.
It was packed on both nights. There was one night for 5th and 6th grade and another night for, one night for 5th grade, then 6th grade, and, of course, 7th and 8th. And all of the nights were packed. Parents have been coming to all of the open houses. It has been great to meet members of the community. They want to meet the teachers. They want to see what it's like for a day in the life of their student. So we have started very strong this year. Yesterday I attended the WECC open house, and again the little ones were taking their parents by the hand and bringing them to their classroom so they could see, you know, who their teachers were, and they had an experience of what the day of a student in pre-K was like. Did multiple stations, so it was great to see. And of course, we can always do more to engage our families, but it's something that our staff members are doing on a daily basis. They are constantly calling parents. If the student is not in the school, they call the parent. We even have staff members. I'll give you an example at Notchog. If the student has not shown up for school, they're going to receive a call, and if there is something that is stopping the parent from being able to drop off the student, then there's a staff member who goes to the home and brings the student. And so we're making sure that we're making those connections early on, that we're not waiting until later in the year. We're doing it from day one. And we also have to rethink of what parental involvement looks like, because our parents have a variety, you know, of experiences and jobs and challenges. And so we may not be able to reach them all during the time that we're in school.
9 to 5, right.
So what does parent engagement look like? And it may be letting them know that these are the activities and opportunities that we have throughout the year, and what is something that you can support throughout the year. We also want to make sure that they're coming to learn about how their students are doing in parent conferences. So that is something that I'm looking forward to as well. But so far what I have seen is parents who are excited about the new year, who are engaged, and who want to see their students be successful.
So outside of them coming to you and going into the school, which is fantastic to hear, you know, hats off for that. Is there a program in place? And I'm doing this for the community because I kind of know the answer, but is there a program where if little Maki Doyle, who we know is not a good student, right? And little Maki Doyle needs, you know, the teacher's seeing a trend already. It's only 4 weeks into the semester. But little Maki Doyle's not doing his homework. Little Maki Doyle's not, and I'm talking, you know, Maki Doyle when he was in junior high and high school, because I think parents are definitely more engaged at the elementary level when it comes to that. Or his grades aren't trending in the direction you need them to. Are the teachers being more proactive in contacting, so it's not like semester ends, the kids failing, never mind the attendance piece, that's just more important as far as, like, I agree with you 100%. Are they being proactive? Has there been any new plans put in place to say, hey, you know, let's look at this more often and contact parents more often? Because again, like you said, parents are working nights, days, second jobs.
Yes, we actually ensure that parents get contacted from the beginning of the school year with positive phone calls 1st, right? We don't want to, for the first connection or contact to a parent to be negative news. And so every building makes sure that they're doing that they're contacting the parents, introducing themselves, sharing positive things about their students. And in the event that there's something that they're concerned about, yes, they're very proactive. We have support staff, social workers, counselors who often make home visits and are willing to go the extra mile to ensure that they're engaging our families so that we can support our
And of
students.
course, this is all within the confines of the budget, because there's only so much you can do unless you have a staff person there who's able to work after 5 and make these home phone calls. But it is important, because if they're not in school, then we can't teach them. We actually need them to attend the school.
That is correct.
We're also beginning to we have to pay attention to the state laws, because there are state laws of truancy, and it's a parent's responsibility to get their kids to school. It's not just the school's responsibility to bring them. The parents have to accept the responsibility that they need to get them to the school system. But let's sort of expand the conversation a little bit. We talked about closing Windham Center School, and the next major project that the Board of Ed is working on is the potential closing of 2 more or 3 more elementary schools and combining our schools into one. Do you want to touch upon that? I know we're doing an awful lot of reach out to the parents. We've done a lot of parent forums. We're probably going to be doing an open house at the community center, and there's a lot of interest in how we're going to move forward.
Yes, that is a really exciting project that we are proposing, and there's going to be a referendum on November 4th. So I exhort individuals to come out and cast their vote. But we are really proposing for there to be one elementary school that is representative of what the school community deserves, a state-of-the-art facility that is going to be have the latest technology, is going to be designed with safety and security in mind, that is going to allow for every single student in Windham Public Schools to have the same experience, to have access to the same resources, to the same staff members, to the same opportunities after school. And it's going to really be a great opportunity for our school community. Not only do we gain for our students to have this sense of pride and have access that is equitable, but also we will be engaging in savings, because we have 3 buildings that are older that need a lot of repairs. One of them, which is over 100 years old, and the cost that we would have to incur to continue to have these 3 buildings up to par, to ensure that our students can go in and be safe every single day, is going to be more if we continue to do that than if we build a new facility. And actually, if we were to choose to remain with the current 3 buildings that we have, not only do we have to continue to fix the buildings throughout the years, but then we still have buildings and schools that are run down and will still need to be. We'll still need to work on them.
Right.
So
and it's also a matter of people are aware that to a certain extent our population of students is being reduced. It's not falling off the map. We're still over 3,000 students, but that small number, if you spread them out over 3 buildings, doesn't allow you to get the benefits of grouping them. So now we can have all the 2nd grade, 1st grade teachers together. They can do joint planning within their grade level. Now we have the ability to have multiple classes. In that we will not. I say we now have the ability to have several 2nd grade classrooms in each in the building, as opposed to now where we only have 1. So that if we need to balance class size, because the population at Natchog indicates that maybe we'll have 22 kids in a classroom, whereas the population at Sweeney maybe only 18 kids. With them all into one building, we're able to better balance the classes for a more equitable solution. We're also better able to offer special programs for them, because we're not spending as much on redundant staff.
It would allow us to really maximize on our resources because we have them all under one roof. And like you said, in order for us to maintain a building with 200 students, you still have to staff that building. And you have to provide a principal, support staff, the teachers, paraprofessionals, resources, curriculum, transportation, all of that. Even though that may be a smaller building, if we were to have them all in one facility, in one school, then we are able to better utilize our resources.
Yeah. For instance, it'll allow us to better track, as we were just talking about, the absenteeism. And so if we have them all into one building, we're going to be better able to reach out to the parents in order to encourage their involvement.
I call it the new business model for education for the elementary level. And it's true because if you can have all your team together, like you're saying, the families, and most importantly, the children's educational experience here in Windham is going to be more equitable across the board. And that's what I hope the community hears as we, Mark and I are both running for political office again. And you hear a lot of misinformation as you go along the way. And because we, when I say we, the whole group of us are very positive about education and very positive in supporting it across the board. And part of that is this new school and having an equitable education program for all the kids of Windham and not by neighborhood. The neighborhood school has had its time. I have a nephew I mentioned last week who's a superintendent of schools in Massachusetts, and they just did the same thing. And he says it's happening everywhere. You can, if you want to say it's a matter of economics in some communities, in that community that he is a superintendent, it's not a financial issue. It's a new way of delivering education so that every student has the music. Back in the day, at one point we had art, we called it art in the cart. The poor person who was that teacher was going from school to school to school. Let me tell you, waste of time, right? Waste of energy on that, staff members' physical body and everything else. And there's no way the first school that person went to was delivering the same energy at the third school of the day. And so it's something that I want all the voters of Windham to consider and think about it. And I, granted, I'm not going to get into numbers of it. Mark and yourself have a better handle on that. But the reality of it is, again, looking at it as a business in a sense, it's a 5-year plan, 10-year plan. In 5 or 10 years, because I remember when I was the chairman of the Board of Ed, that Natchog was falling apart physically, the building. I was on that roof. We were there with the mason. We were doing all kinds of stuff to salvage that building. You will never be able to put the technology in that building that the new school is going to have with the support of this community. It just won't happen. It's too costly to go into a building that's over 100 years old, not one building. North Windham has been around for quite a while now, and I still chuckle. Every time I think of Sweeney, it's probably, in my time, it had the most family atmosphere. And used to enjoy their Thanksgiving meals there. But then if you took a tour of that building and you saw the phys ed teacher was in a shower stall, literally that's where the office was for the phys ed teacher, and you get the cafetorium in one place, and all kinds.
Yeah, and that's important as well. That we will have access to 2 cafeterias, one for the elementary school and one for the lower grades and one for the higher grades. We would have a gymnasium. They would have air conditioning. It would be controlled access. Of course, they will have access to state-of-the-art indoor and outdoor spaces for learning and flexible spaces for learning, and this is the way to go.
Sure, and again, I'm not going to get to numbers of what bonding packages are going to be falling off by the time you actually put a shovel in the ground, because to me this is yet an important investment. I mean, the high school was done differently than I would have. I was on that building, still I'm on the building committee, but I believed in tearing it down after the new one was built. But it came out beautiful, and I know the teachers appreciate it. I know the staff appreciates it. But you got to look long term, like you said earlier, Iris. The expense of maintaining these buildings. When you have an older home, I had a home from the 1700s at one time, and that building, that little house, costs more than running a new colonial. Okay,
Yes.
it's because it's the age, and you just never know when something major is going to go, and sooner or later something will go in that
Yeah,
building.
HVAC systems and
Yeah.
sump pumps and
Yeah,
roofs and
wells and
everything in
out the
between.
Windham. So,
Yes.
so
Yes.
it's important that don't look at the dollar right now. I mean, this isn't going to impact anything for 4 or 5 years down the road, and by then again, bonding, which is already in place for other projects that are falling off the finances of the community, is it's well worth the investment, because everyone come all the middle school kids or the high school kids and the test scores and this and that. Well, what the Board of Ed is trying to do now is reconstruct the foundation of your school district, right? So if you build a new elementary school and you staff it properly and you have the technology for these younger kids are smarter than me when it comes to technology already, and so they need that to stay engaged. The teachers need the technology, because the ones who are coming out of college now as young teachers are like, holy, they can dance around what some of the older teachers can do, and have it there, because that's what they're learning on in the colleges. They're not learning on an abacus on how to do math, right? At the colleges to be a math teacher. So please, I'm asking the community November 4th to vote yes on this project. I think it's so important that we get this through, because it takes forever to design it. It only takes 14 months, to build it per se. But before you can build, there's a lot of work that goes into it.
I learned so much from your questions, Ken. It's incredible.
Listen, Iris is sitting back here and she's saying, God, I wish this guy was back on the board with me and he would lead the charge. See, these guys, they sit there, Iris. All of them, they just sit back and what do we say?
Fortunately, when we reviewed Iris, we didn't go over some of the past members of the board, so they were
we're going to squeeze a little bit more money into her budget, because she's going to hire me as her chief spokesperson and head cheerleader.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I'm committed
I have
to
a great board. I have no complaints. They're amazing
There you go.
individuals
Iris,
who
please.
I do.
Please.
I am very fortunate.
Well, I'll say yes to Lynn Ives. She was our guest last week. It was very educational. Mark Doyle, week to week.
Did she get it? Did she get a word in edgeways? Wow.
What are you trying to say? Did I talk too much?
No. Okay. So, getting back to it is true that November 4th will be the referendum for the new school. The school will not, even when you pass the referendum, if the referendum passes, the school will not be built for 3 to 4 years or finished for 3 to 4 years. So the impact, when people say, well, the budget's going to go up, the taxes are going to go crazy, the impact on the taxes will not be immediate, and it will not be all at once, because this will be a bonded project where the taxes are spread over a 10 or 15 year period. So the impact of the taxes is not as great as it sounds. So at this point, I can tell you that the proposed expense for the new building, the referendum question, is $144 million. But of that, $28 million will be Willimantic's part. The state will be reimbursing us at least 80% of the cost. So you're getting a great deal as well in terms of getting a new school for our children. So don't be afraid when you see the 144. It really means it's only about 28 million that's going to have a local impact, and that'll be spread out through the bonding process. So it will not have the same major impact of a $1 million increase in your operating budget.
Well, and 2 points on that is there's definitely going to be operational savings when you close down the other 3 elementary schools. There's going to be some savings there that'll help the day-to-day operational course, with that.
Well, I'm sure.
And,
I'm sorry, but if you just look at the Natchog building we've talked about, there are 20-foot wide hallway spaces and 30 feet high ceilings.
I know.
So anyone who owns a home knows that when you're trying to heat that size space, you're using a lot more heat than if it was more efficient. So just that alone.
And I can tell you this from experience on the building committee for the high school project, and I'll tip my hat to Rep. Susan Johnson right here out of the 49th, okay, because by the time she was done, she was able to get us more money, more of a payment from the state than originally anticipated. Not saying that's going to happen. I'm not going to put words in her mouth, but I know one thing. Well, as long as she's there, she's going to fight for that.
She's a great supporter.
She's a huge supporter. Her, And Dennis are huge supporters of the school district. There's no doubt about it. Although you've chosen to be on the best show on the radio, you know that. Wyndham Weekly. Yeah, hope you're listening, Dennis. She's still on our show. But no, Susan Johnson really did that, and for that reimbursement over there, which helped at that high school quite a bit. And so laws will change, things will change. So as soon as we get this in the hopper, the quicker she can get to work on it.
Absolutely. It is extremely important, and it's what our students and our families deserve, and it will be a point of pride for Windham Public Schools as well, and for the community.
Yeah, there's no doubt this, the initial impact anytime when the middle school opened up, and then when the high schools opens up, and it's even though it was a 3-year work in progress for those folks that work there, but when they open up and the kids come in, the parents came in and they saw a building, they knew they had to respect it. You anticipate your grades to be higher, and the students to respect the building. I had students on a few times over the summer about, what do you think about the new school? What do you think? How did it come out? They love it. Well, they're not going to go in there and start carving things up and intentionally damaging things. You've got 500 kids in that building. 600 kids and staff.
And at the high school, and then we have WECC.
So you're going to. I don't care how good they are. You're going to have wear and tear immediately because that's a fact of life. But to maintain it, I think it should be a little bit easier. The workflow in there is going to be easier. The teacher morale, if they're not happy and they're not excited about it, then maybe they got to get checked because it was a lot, and the community supported that in the end. And I think on November 4th we'll see a positive outcome for this vote. Then Mark can go to sleep at night or at the board meetings like he does now. But
the high school definitely has some beautiful, bright spaces, and it's what every student deserves, to go into a school where they have access to all of the resources that they need. And it's state of the art. It's state of the art, and it's also safety is also an area that we need to continue to strengthen.
Right.
The newer buildings have the vestibule, and you have controlled access, and it brings you into another space before you walk into the school. And we don't currently have that in our elementary schools. The newer buildings do have that, and so that is an area also that we have to keep in mind as well.
That's a huge point, Iris. Mm-hmm. The security at the high school is definitely stronger than it's ever been, and I never even. I never gave that a second thought when we were doing all that over there, but the check-in points and so on.
Yeah, that's going to be another important point of this consolidated building, because as you know, when you walk into a grade school now, you're a long way from the office, from the front door at Natchog or Sweeney. Well, Sweeney, you're pretty close. North Windham, you're not really near the office when you walk in that front door.
Yeah, Windham Center was like that. You had to walk down the hallway all the way to the left to.
So one of the things we did when we toured other facilities was take note of the security, which that's an important issue now for a lot of parents, the security of the kids at school. And these systems are all once we're upgraded, are going to be a lot more secure for the kids.
So what else is going on? I mean, how's the football team doing? I know you're not the coach, but
I'm not the coach, but I'm looking forward to tomorrow's game.
Great.
We have a game tomorrow. It's our first home game, and I'm looking forward to it.
It's the first home game?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
That's
great.
Not the first home game on the field, just the first home game.
Now, does the marching band, the drum line need a leader or anything?
Well, that you would need to ask.
I mean, Iris, pull some strings.
It's my first game.
You've got my cell number. Just give me a call. Ken, we don't have an MC for the halftime show. I mean,
they had an advertisement, Ken, but then the kids looked and said, Ken?
They didn't say Ken. They said the voice of Wyndham, that guy, yeah. That's what I'm telling you. Right. Big hit. Yep. No, I'm hoping Coach Prose has a great season with the kids. I know the boys soccer team's got a couple new young coaches, but they're doing okay. I'm doing it. You're invited, by the way.
Where am I invited to?
Where are you invited? Let's see.
It's
I'll get the date. But
it's
October. Whatever that Tuesday. I think it's October 21st.
Okay.
Right.
Kenpalooza.
The voice of Wyndham is doing a pasta dinner like I used to do when my sons played. We're at the high school cafeteria. It's because the next after practice about 4:35 or whatever time the kids get in there, because the next night is their senior night. So I'm going to see if I can't get, there's a gentleman that I know who was the captain of the very first Windham soccer team umpteen years ago who will show up. We've invited Pam Cavanaugh, I'm sure the AD and the other vice principals to pop in. There should be plenty of food and drink and dessert. And would love to have you show up and say hi to the kids and support that soccer group.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
Well,
Great.
I'll be there, Ken.
I'll make sure I'll make sure my internal secretary gets you the date and time because I'm not very good with that stuff.
Yep, just let me know the date and I'll be there.
Big dinner. The voice will be there.
Excellent.
Doyle's not invited because I want to
Wow.
have food for the kids.
And that's just for the boys soccer team. Did you invite the girls soccer team?
I can only, like I said, I'm helpful to any team and anybody who asks, but this happens to be I have a very good connection to the boys soccer team. You know, the young man was the head coach there. He's your history teacher, I believe. We had him on, Mr. Hope, and when he was a freshman, he played with my sons, and we used to host him at the house, and he was on the radio, and that memory came to his head about these big dinners, and I turned around and I said, you know something, Mike? You do this, you work with the team, you promise to stay in the district because he's going to be someone you want to keep around, and I will put on a pasta dinner like I did back in the day. And he was like, really? And I said, you got it. Now I'm spending this Saturday making 180 meatballs, so getting it all prepped so that it's just, bing, bang, boom.
Yep.
But I'm excited.
Excellent,
I'm excited to do that and see the kids, and hopefully I can make it to the homecoming game. I haven't gone to a game yet this year. Just time hasn't allowed it. But any recognition for the kids, I think it's just.
You missed the big part, Ken. You didn't tell them you were going to appear in your high school soccer uniform.
Didn't listen.
I understand. That's when the shorts were short. That's why here.
With the white socks up to my
right.
knees.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
The canvas with the white socks.
It's going to be great. So don't miss that, folks. For Ken Palooza in his original outfit. It's going to be an interesting time for all.
No, I'm going to reach out to just make sure the coach knows that I found this guy who used to play on the very, not just play, but he was the captain of the very first team. He's 75
amazing.
yees old now.
And what is his name?
Oh, we don't want to get into his name on the radio because Mark will kill me. But it should be fun. I'll be stressed, but it's been a while since I've done one of those. And one coach says there's 25 kids, the other coach says there's 44. So I don't know. I'll plan for the.
It should be a fun time.
Yeah.
Either way,
it'll be good. Those. And that's what I think. That's what it's all about. Is just to be able to, if you can, give back a little bit. Time-wise, whatever, a little energy, and that those kids, just like Mike, Mr. Hope, remembered the times at the house, and I think that's what school should be about. Not just your buddies, but there's adults. I mean, I did a little fundraiser for him for the team for awards and whatnot. Talked to a few buddies, and he was polite, sent them thank you notes and everything else, and that's community. And that's the kind of support we need to continue to grow. There's plenty of people who do that all day and do a lot more than I do. But that's what it's all about. And
that's another way where parents actually are engaged in our school community. I've been able to go to like the volleyball games and some of the soccer games, and to see them coming after school to see their kids play and to cheer for them. That is also a way of being engaged that we don't necessarily think about. And so it is great to see. It is great to see them out.
Athletics is a vital part of that education, especially when you get to the high school level, where the kid knows his grades are tied to being on a team. He knows his family and friends are there in the stand supporting him. It brings community pride when they're doing well, and if not, that they know they're still being supported. And I'll go all the way back full circle to the budget, right? It scares me because I remember I had to do that. I had to come home and tell my son, who was finally an 8th grader, and say, hey, we had the Knicks middle school sports, and back in the day, and I hope to never have to see that again. And
that is something that we're trying to avoid.
We are trying.
We want to make sure that students have, that connection after school as well, and we want them to succeed not only in the classroom but outside of the classroom as well. And it teaches them many skills that they're going to need outside of the school.
Yeah. We only have a few minutes left, so let's circle back to the proposed consolidated elementary school. I think it's important to let the parents know where can they get more information. We have a lot of information out there. We've had a lot of printed information, but there's also information online through our system. Do you have the website, or can you give us an insight into?
Well, our district website has information about the consolidation. Also, something to remember is the referendum date, which is November 4th. And if you're not sure on where to go to vote, then that information is also available online.
Yeah, November 4th is the regular election, so you'll be voting for the offices as well as this referendum. But we also went to an extent when we looked at different buildings. This building, this consolidated building, will be set up so that, almost like it's in pods, that we were going to be grouping the children by their age level, so there'll be a lot more intimacy for their in particular grades, and get, I think, a little further than what we have now.
Well, ladies and gentlemen who listen to Windham Weekly, it's important to go, like Dr. Gomero said, to the school website, learn about it, call the members of the Board of Education and ask them for details. Just, we want your support. We want you to vote yes on this. And I know the staff at the central office, including Dr. Gomero, would be happy to take a call, make an appointment, send an email, because you need to have the facts and understand it's not just today. There's a future that you're looking at, and it's down the road, and it's a rebuilding of the foundation of our school district, this thing. I want to take a moment to thank Dr. Iris Gomero for coming down. Always welcome on our show. We want to have some students down as soon as we can and celebrate whatever success they're celebrating, and have them talk about why they're happy in the buildings they are, what their staff are dealing with. And we will be back next week, of course, with another very special guest. We'll announce that day, because I don't want to tease. It's always a special guest, because they know this is a special program on Windham Weekly on WILI.